Let's look at power and health policy. So in this discussion, we'll be able to look at the definition of power, where there's what influence, what is the impact of power on policy making, and uh, what shows that people actually have, what could people use that power for in health policy making. And then also look at the impact of power on health policy outcomes and health equity. And then look at the different frameworks that we can use to assess our dynamics and strategies for in health policy cases. So who can tell me what power is? We start. What is power? Mm-hmm. Let us interact. What is power? Anyone who's going to tell us what power is?
Uh, According to me, I think power means that instrument of authority that you can have to order something maybe to be done.
Okay. So someone should have authority such that they can give orders for something to be done. Okay, thank you very much. And we have another answer what power is. When we hear people struggling for political, what what does political power entail? So let's move. So here I'm basically saying that it's the ability to achieve a desired outcome. Power is the ability to influence people. Power is basically the ability to make, having the ability to make decisions. Okay, that is basically power. So power comes in different forms. Okay, you can have power as a result of being appointed in a particular position, but you can also have power because you inherited power. Okay, maybe you are the princess, prince. Okay, so you can inherit power. You can also have if you have what we call money or financial resources. That we can call it financial power. Okay, financial financial power. But in our, let us say, in our communities, there are different things which signify power actually. Um, Having many cows, many heads of cattle, that's a sign of power. So it is basically wealth. Uh, the ability to give these cows away, so it also signifies power. Okay, someone comes for your wedding and then says, um, I'm giving you 100 cows. Okay, and then also in terms of also social or community setting, at community level, someone who has huge, a huge piece of land. You can call that person a landlord. Okay, a landlord is a powerful person. Okay, so that you do see those the things that I've mentioned have they have a way they put you they increase your social standing. Okay, they increase your social standing. In our organizations, the person who manages the budget holder, we use that word, is very strong. You can also look at it, who is powerful in our organizations in terms of um, how many staff do they actually manage. Okay, the more you manage more many staffs, the more powerful you are. And then control over information. Information is power. You have always had that. Okay, so if you have very sensitive power, I mean sensitive information, and you control access to it, or you have control over that information, then you're actually very powerful. Okay, so we have very, very many sources of power, just explained, uh, that can be exercised in different ways. Okay. For example, having wealth or financial power, you can exercise it in a positive way or in a negative way. Okay. For example, the other day we looked at expert power, we had appointed power or legitimate power, and then we also looked at rewarding power. Then we also looked at coercive power. Those are also other indicators. For example, in our context, in our political environment, we have different generals who are behind what you call different army functions. So you can determine, or you can say that this general is powerful compared to the other, and depending on the number of soldiers under their command. Okay. So that is also an indicator of power. Right. So we move forward. So the other very important point that I need to understand in this lecture is that policy uh, policy is you making a decision on what to do, but also policy is you making a decision on what not to do. Okay? So basically what I'm saying is that not deciding is also a policy. Not taking a decision is also a policy. So inaction is a policy, or no action is a policy. So you have other actors who can make you not to take a decision. Also regard them as being powerful. People who don't make you to make a decision are also powerful. Okay, so let me give you an example. First example provided here is that for people in the tobacco industry, they can influence the legislature not to enact laws against tobacco smoking or laws that restrict tobacco smoking. They can give incentives, they can give them financial benefits. It can be trips, it can be whatever. They come in many forms. They can be gifts. Someone gives you a car. Someone gives you a course here. It is about V8. Someone from nowhere calls you and say, "Hey, come, my friend. There's something here for you. I'm giving you this car." Okay. The person who's giving you that V8 is a person who is heading a particular industry, and they don't want you to make a policy in that industry. Okay. Or it could be someone giving you a fully paid trip. Say, can we go to London? Can you have a holiday in Maldives? It can be Dubai, it can't be anywhere, South Africa. A fully paid trip. Okay. So these people basically put you in a situation or put policymakers in a situation where policymakers don't make decisions. That is what we call as non-decision making. Okay. So you you'll be there pushing your policy for restricting the sale of tobacco products, cigarettes, and the politicians are not really interested. One, because someone gifted them a car somewhere, someone took them for a trip somewhere, someone is the, you get. So you need to understand that we have those underground actors, the interest groups. The interest groups are very, very powerful. You don't see them in the media. It's usually these smart guys on the streets. So you hear the population saying, please, we need a police on this, we need a police on this, and the politicians are quiet. It's because it could be because of those underhand methods used by interest groups. And then power as a thought control. Okay. They say that the strongest form of control is when someone controls your thinking or controls your mind. Okay. So there are many ways in which politicians can influence the thinking of the population or even fellow politicians about a given policy issue. Okay. This is also, I can also relate to what we call group thinking. Sometimes you will have very intelligent people sitting down and making decisions. Are you serious? Are you the ones who make this decision? So sometimes people's minds are out of reality, and they actually not in touch with the reality because of how they have been made to believe. So it's like their mind is actually not, it does not reflect what is on ground. Okay. So for example, you can have a very corrupt politician. Everyone knows that this person is corrupt. It is public knowledge that they are corrupt. But then this person is not being censored. Okay, is not being removed from position of power. Why? It could be related to what you can term as patronage. But just look at this example where a corrupt politician invites parliamentarians to attend his daughter's wedding of course, at his own expense. Okay, so you see that the wedding is perhaps conducted in a very expensive place, and then everyone who comes lives with a name or something like that, or they are given other enticing gifts. The following day, there is no politician who talk ill about this corrupt politician. It's because their minds have been twisted to think that this politician is actually very, very generous. Is a person who does good and things like that. Okay, so power can also be looked at in terms of the ability to control the thought process. Okay, what people think, and here you have media, the role of media in policy making. The media can influence what people will talk about. The media plays an important role, and we saw this in agenda setting lecture. Okay. One of the key tools that you can use in making sure that your policy issue gains prominence is using media in the appropriate way. Media can control the narrative. Okay, media gives it directs where the discussion will be. Okay, so often powerful entities or what you can call interest groups use media really to drive a certain narrative. Okay, so when you see the newspapers, the radios, the televisions talking about different topics, these topics, there are people who are interested in having these topics discussed in the media. And then we also have people who are not interested in certain topics being discussed in the media. Okay, so the person who says this is what should be on the media, that person has control because the people will be focused on discussing what they see in the media, and then they can leave other important matters to pass. Okay, it can be a kind of distraction. Okay, as you're looking the other side, someone is making sure that their agenda passes to the other end. So those are things that can really happen. Policy issues. Okay, so what you see in the media, be very careful with what you consume. In the US, you have what you call media channels or media networks that are aligned to a particular political alignment. Okay, they have the left, the right. Okay, so here we have not reached that level. We have not yet reached a level of media independence where it is okay for you to say that I'm aligned with this political party. So you can have a radio station, a newspaper, or a television channel that says, for me, this is where I'm aligned. Okay, this is the political candidate I'm supporting. Okay. In Kenya, it happened where newspapers actually became very clear on who they are going to support between Ruto and Odinga. Okay, and they were not closed. That's also something I need to emphasize. That's when you have free media space. Okay, free media space is very important. We don't have it at the moment. You cannot wake up one day and say, I support this. Then you are not closed. You'll be closed. Okay, so media is very important in thought control. So that means that often you also see this with neighboring countries, whether it is in Kenya or even Uganda. You see that the most media, the prominent radio stations, televisions, owned by politicians. Okay, are owned by politicians. But in most cases, the politicians who are actually in power. Okay, so it means that with these are actually called they can you can easily term them as propaganda machines. Okay, the media channels being used to propagate information that drives a particular narrative. Okay, so it controls people's mind, people's minds. So we look at the theories on who possesses power. Okay, who possesses power. Already we looked at those the people who have information, sensitive information, people who have resources, whether it is land, whether it is cattle, whether it is military power, whether it is money. These people have they exercise influence, can make decisions. But when we look at the national levels, okay, different countries, in different countries, where is power lying? That's what we are looking at here. So we have three theories that we are going to look at. They will help us in explaining where power lies. The first one is pluralism. The second one is the public choice. And then the third one is the elitist theory. So let's look at each of these. Within this pluralism, it's about the fact that no single entity is holding significant power compared to others. Okay? So this basically means that you don't have what you call powerful cliques. You don't have people controlling the major sources of power. Okay? Power is distributed across the society. So here, the point here, the central point here is that you are free to air out your ideas. And those that, the ideas that have majority support will go through. Okay? So this means that it's nothing to do with whether you're having whether you're having a majority in a political party. Okay? If you don't have strong political parties and the civic space is narrowed. When I talk about the civic space, I mean that space where people can freely discuss. There's freedom of speech. Okay? I disagree with you. I front my ideas and I will sleep comfortably with no fear of being taken somewhere. That is pluralism. Then we have it's about a competition on ideas. If my ideas actually are more popular, my party will take over power, and then I will implement what my ideas. I put my ideas into policies and implement them. So that is so it happens when you have freedom of speech. There is political space to discuss matters without being imprisoned or anything. So you see that if you want to look at different countries, if most countries is in this generation are having multi-party systems, multi-party systems. Even if you also look even at around the East African region, Kenya, you have multiple parties. Often the person who wins in Kenya is one who forms very strategic alliances with other parties. Okay. And then you move to Uganda, of course, the political parties are there, but there is narrowed civic space. Okay. It is not very easy for the politicians to hold rallies, for example, across the country without disruption. Okay. So the police brutality, sometimes the politicians are not allowed to speak on radio. Sometimes the politicians are not allowed to demonstrate. Okay. So in an environment where you have multiple political parties, these parties should carry out their activities without disruptions. As long as you demonstrate in a peaceful manner, it should be okay. Some of the things are not allowed in some of these East African countries. Okay, Laila was demonstrating not so long ago, but you can see that the police also is brutal. Same thing can be said of Uganda. Then here, there is nothing like demonstration. There's no demonstration. You demonstrate over what? Okay. So the political space is still limited. Okay, so more you can have a single party system where you have one political party operating, and you can have multi-party dispensation. So when you have multi-party dispensation, it's where you have the competition for ideas. Where you have a single party, it's a different situation. For example, in China, where you have the Communist Party. Okay, so and then the other element is about you can still have multi-party dispensation where you have different political parties, but the power lies in the legislative arm. Okay, all the power can lie in the executive arm. So they differ. Okay, so you can have a country where the moment you have many members of parliament for your party in a particular election, then you are the ones who are going to choose the leader of the government, the legislative. So the leader of government who can be a prime minister is chosen from the legislature, and it heads the whole government. Okay. So at the moment in South Sudan, we have it is okay to operate political parties. Okay, it is okay to operate political parties, but of course the space is still not very conducive because of many factors. The resources to run these parties are limited. The civic space is still limited. I mean, that growth in having civil political discussions is still not yet right. Okay, so that's where we are as a country. So we look at what we call public choice. Okay, with public choice, you basically apply the principles of economics, political behavior, and it assumes that individuals act rationally and they have self-interest in public affairs. So here it means that people's behaviors in terms of the political landscape is influenced by their thinking and how what self-interest they actually have in a matter. So here it's about competition and negotiating with the different groups that have these their interests. So if you are to navigate the political landscape to get a policy done, you need to have skills of negotiation. Of course, this includes compromise, such that you can really have a policy outcome of your interest. Okay, so that is public choice. Okay, so people are aligned to take particular positions based on their self-interest and, of course, rational thinking as about the public choice. Then we move to the elitism. These are elites, or the elites, if I can use that one. With this, with elitism, it's about a few people, the ones we are calling the elites. These are the vocal educated people, the few educated people, if I can use that, the few educated people dominating decisions in the society or even in major institutions. Okay, so decision-making processes are controlled by elites. who act on their own interest at the expense. So you don't want to have these elites making decisions without consulting the masses. But of course, we have this. We have this. We have very few people sitting in one of the hotels and making a decision on what needs to be done. Okay, and then they do what they actually want. Those are the elites. So another way of looking at a political system is by using what we call the political system model. Often, and from this model, you should actually know that public health is policy, and then policy is politics. Therefore, it is right to say that public health is politics. Okay, so that's why we look at this political system, knowing who are the actors and what influences the actions or the decisions taken by the actors. So that's why we are looking at this political system model. So for it states or it proposes that if you are going to look at a political system within a given country, you have what we call inputs and outputs, but all the things happen in a particular environment. Now, the politicians are faced with the demands, supports about taking actions or decisions. So how do they take these decisions? The way they take these decisions, of course, depend on the political system that they actually have, or the political system where these politicians are acting in, the one we are having a square for. Okay, so the processes that happen within a political system are the ones that give us the decisions, the actions. So the decisions, and you have to remember this, the decisions can be actions, or the decisions can be inaction. And these are basically the output. So it's basically like if you're going to look at a political system, look at it in three major components. The inputs, okay, what is being demanded, and then the support system, and in a particular political system where you have many actors. Okay, so how these actors interact, the processes, the networks, everything will now give us the output, which are the decisions, the actions. Okay, and I've emphasized the fact that you can have a decision of not taking action, or you can have a decision of taking action, but all this happen in a particular. So what frameworks can you really use to assess power dynamics? So in this session, basically, you have seen that power can be dispersed, okay, where you have different power centers. And then we have also seen that you can have power being concentrated in a few people, that is the elites. Okay, where we have many people having multiple power centers, that is the pluralism. Okay, the pluralistic setting. And then the elitist setting is where I have only few people. Now, how do you assess the power dynamics within a given setting or related to a given public health issue that you're actually having? You can look at the power dynamics in terms of resource mobilization theory. With this, you're looking at who is more powerful example, in terms of resources, we earlier on stated that resources can be financial resources, it can be access to sensitive information, it can be the networks that you have. Okay. So if you look at in terms of money, you will know who is very influential, who has power. Okay. If you look at who has what kind of information, then you also know. Okay. You see who the powerful actors are. And then you also look at the networks. For example, if you wanted to meet the minister tomorrow, who could you talk to? Okay, so you need to get people who have access to information on whether actually the minister is in the country or is outside the country. Or that you cannot meet the minister during official hours, but you can meet him or her in unofficial hours in this place. Who has the information about where the minister is actually is at the moment? Okay. And then of course money. Money is very, very, very good. It's a very powerful tool in policy making. Okay. This is the reality. You'll have an international NGO, a national NGO, going to a particular government office for approval of their project proposals. Often you find out that they want for the international NGO go through because our money, it may not be that the international NGO has actually given money, but there is that perception, perceived power, if I can use that word, perceived power. Someone looks at you and believes you have a lot of power. Maybe because of your appearance, maybe because of your networks, maybe because of, so you can have perceived power. So they can have two situations: actual power, the real power that you hold, and then the perceived power. What people think, the power that you have in their mind. Okay. So you can have people who who may actually portray to you that they are actually very powerful, yet they are actually not powerful. Okay. So the second framework is to look at the network theory, which basically focuses on the relations and connections between actors within a policy arena. Okay. I often lament that you see sometimes the decisions are not taken in the offices. Okay. And it is the reality actually. Okay. You can have decisions being made over dinner. Okay. People are maybe meeting for a dinner in one of the hotels and then, by the way, this issue, how can we sort it? No, let me work on it tomorrow morning. A decision has been taken and it's going to be implemented. But where does it come from? It comes from the fact that I'm your friend and we have met over dinner and the decision is made. Okay, so the networks, and this also relates to what you can call social networks. I mean, social work. Okay, your social network is actually your one. Also say that a lot. Okay, if I have something that needs to be addressed, who can easily lead me to the person who can make that decision to address the issue? So that's the network theory. It looks at the connections that have a play in decision making. Okay, so you can look at this in terms of our organizations. You will have two national NGOs They are doing, both of them are doing excellent. And then you have one getting a lot of funds and doing almost nothing, not doing a lot of work. And then you have another NGO that is making sure that they do meticulous work under tight budgets. But this NGO that is not really doing a lot of work, but year in, year out, they get a lot of funds. It could be because of their networks. Okay? And this is what I keep saying, that you get what you negotiate for. So sometimes for you to get what you want, it takes connections to make sure that you get what you want. Okay? So even these donations, these funding, these grants, yes, you can have a very good proposal, but if you don't network, you will not get these funds. So that's where the network theory becomes very important. Okay, the relations and connections that you have allow the policy to move forward. Okay, so the contacts, the social connections, being there when you need it is also very key. Agenda setting theory, how certain issues get the attention of the policy makers, and then others are being ignored. Okay, remember that in a health policy environment, you have many policies that need to be enacted, implemented, and evaluated. But not all of them will gain attention. Okay. So which issues gain attention and how they gain attention is very important. So when you analyze a particular policy issue, you need to look at who are the powerful leaders and how do they frame their issues, okay, and how do they even influence public opinion. Okay, if you have a small organization and a very big organization, both of them could be fronting similar. Basically, they can actually be addressing the same issue, but still comes back. You see, not all organizations are going to be the same. We have well-resourced organizations, and then we have ill organizations that have chronic shortage of funds. Okay. So the organization which is well resourced is most likely going to have its matter discussed. If you have been looking at social media, okay, there is one agency where the country director in the last 6 months has met each and every powerful person in the country just by looking at social media. Okay, the person has met the vice presidents from all the vice presidents, by the way, and has met the key ministries. That is basically one entity. Okay, and then the other entities that could find it extremely very hard to meet the vice presidents, to meet the ministers, to meet the one. But now, if you have access to the vice presidents in the country, it's very easy for your issue to move forward. Okay, it's very easy for your issue to get meetings. Okay, so that is the agenda setting theory. Then the fourth one is the policy advocacy framework. Okay, with this is actually have a full lecture on policy advocacy. With it, you have different strategies that you employ to make sure that you run a successful policy issue, like that it gets to the agenda paper, that it gets addressed, solutions are looked for, and the policies are enacted and implemented. Okay, so policy advocacy frameworks is a wide one, which we shall look at. What tools do you need to use? What models or frameworks can you use in policy advocacy? How can you actually conduct an effective policy advocacy campaign? That should be our next lecture. So that marks the end of this session. If you have queries, this is the time.